Did you enjoy the course? Yeah? Feel like you learned something? All right, so yeah, today is our last class, and no final. Not gonna give a final. So just try to get in the rest of your assignments. Hopefully try to get them in by Monday. We want to have things graded at least by the middle of the week, next week. So whatever is remaining or outstanding, get that in as soon as possible. Yeah, this is it. So I figure I would just kind of briefly, before we get out of here, just touch on maybe some more sort of philosophical aspects about human behavior, right? Just a different lens on how to look at the whole paradigm of us, right? I know we've been studying different methods, processes, all these different things that's been experimental, that's been in practice, right? That's been within the DSM, but I think today I just want to talk about just some overall insights into human behavior, right? From a philosophical point of view. Now, although Freud is extremely controversial, right? And usually the people who start at the beginning are controversial, right? Because as time goes on, there's a tendency also, the psychology of academics, there's a tendency to always think that, hey, we kind of know better, whatever's modern is better, right? But Freud really did touch on most of the fundamental aspects, both scientifically and philosophically, about what it is to be a human being in terms of behavior, motivations, energies, etc. So one of the aspects to think of, well, Freud says that the universe is a duality, right? Which means that our very existence here on Earth is just order out of chaos, right? Two conflicting things, some sort of balance. Now, if we look at that from a larger sort of viewpoint, we could think of, well, there is no evil without good, there's no good without evil, right? There is no right without wrong, there is no wrong without right. There's no happiness without sad, no sad without happiness. Therefore, Freud's sort of fundamental viewpoint is that all behavior is conflict between two opposing forces. You can say, well, how does it even translate biologically? Well, we said we have a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, something that brings us up, another system that brings us down, right? Right hemisphere of the brain, left hemisphere of the brain, left arm, right foot, left eye, right eye. Therefore, we see even the human being is truly divisible by two, right? And we're essentially halves competing with the other half. With that being said, Freud says, well, how do we come about having problems? In essence, his viewpoint is that we have some sort of tension, or what he would call some energy blockage. Some blockage of energies that should be manifested outward, that should be materialized, that never does. So when something happens or occurs to us in this realm, this existence, oftentimes things get blocked, right? And so Freud would say, well, in order for us to resolve that issue, it has to be released. Therefore, he developed psychotherapy. You're like, well, in essence, what is psychotherapy, right? What is psychoanalysis, for that matter? Talk therapy, right? The ability to talk. Humans have the most diverse range of languages, as far as we know, on the planet. So speaking is one of the true, highly separable things in which human beings have that other animals do not, in the way that we could speak, right? So before I said that's a huge component to releasing that blockage of energy in order to continue the life force, which he calls libido, in order to continue the life force in this regulative manner. And we say regulative in the sense that, well, we have conflict, so we have duality. And the only way to really balance that duality is to have some sort of force, some energy to motivate us, which you would call drive to continue to move on through life. But he says, truly in essence, life is suffering. Existence itself, all things being considered equal, is suffering because you're born to die, right? So Freud's viewpoint is that if we are born to die, obviously we don't want to be constantly aware of death, but inevitably our body knows, right? Our very existence knows that we will experience an end to this, whatever we want to call this existence. But that being known in the subconscious, we have to sort of find a reason, motivation, a drive to continue life itself. We have to make reasons, right? We have to make up reasons. So we say even from a sociological viewpoint, we create reasons, right? Reasons being money, cars, houses, family, love, all sorts of things, right? And that itself creates some sort of drive or will to life. Now, Freud, in essence, really took a lot from Nietzsche, right? Any big Nietzsche fans? Any readers of Nietzsche? Okay, and we say, well, you know what? Nietzsche kind of epitomized a lot of things that Freud would express, right? Later on. And so one of the things we said, where does anxiety comes from? It comes from the German word angst, right? That's in essence all we talk about primarily in psychology is anxiety. And that is the fundamental principle that Freud said also was the pinned up tension of unreleased energy, right? That we are nothing more than these units of energy. And when things like an electrical circuit, things get shut down, we have to open them up for that thing to freely move about so the system works all together. So anxiety, Freud would say, was the cause of really all psychological disorders, with the exception of those that could be maybe physiologically abhorrent, right? Something that you, or in trauma, or something of the sort, right? But outside of that, if we take Freud's point of view, then we're thinking that we're supposed to be self-regulating organisms. And what happens is if we have the subconscious is what we are born with that automatically picks up everything in the environment. So your subconscious, when we walk down the street, picks up danger. It picks up fear, right? It picks up happiness. It picks up pleasant. It picks up unpleasant, automatically. And then your conscious manifests it or materialize it into something that you can make sense of, right? So with that conflicting nature, we say, well, how do we sort of go about fighting against the things that the subconscious already picks up? Well, we said that requires work. And that work is that mental energy and effort in order to counteract what the subconscious is picking up automatically as you navigate through life. Because basically it's just an antenna, right? And you're processing, and you're trying to self-regulate, right? And self-regulate, you say, well, I'm in a negative here, I have to create positive. That requires energy, that requires work, and that's in essence what Freud would call libido, drive, or life force. In essence, that's just really the force of life to continue to have life. Because if not, if we don't continue putting in that effort or energy in making a reason, creating a reason, right? And if you think we create all sorts of reasons, we could say faith could be very well one of the biggest reasons for people. It is one of the greatest motivators of life force, the drive to continue life, to have purpose in life. You have to make purpose, right? If not, you say you're born to die. And we could all say that, born to It'd be no point. Absolutely, this would be a pointless existence, and everything in it we're doing is just killing idle time, right? So we make a reason, and we give them values and assignments and that. So the point of this is to think of, hey, in the future, for yourself and for others, clients, friends, family. Yes, we're learning the academic side of things. But if you really get to the root, the source, the philosophical aspect of it, it's actually very simple, right? We know that the universe is a duality. It's opposing forces, right? There's two forces operating against one another in order to create some sort of balance, some sort of harmony. And that itself is mental life. So you ask yourself, well, how do I get rid of my anxieties? How do I get rid of my anxieties? You say my unconscious mind says that this is a bad thing. This is an unpleasant feeling. This is a tension in my life. How do I release this tension? You say only the conscious mind can do that, which means at any point in time, you literally can make a choice or decision to stop, right? To reject that information from the unconscious mind that this is a fear, this is anxiety, this is a problem. Problems only exist if we say so, if we make a choice. So for any of you ever watched the Matrix movies? No? Well, we say, remember, Agent Smith. Everybody remembers Smith, right? So Smith is a virus, and he hacks on the program, and he spreads, and eventually he takes over the whole Matrix. And when he finally, him and Neo catch back up, he said, well, how did you do it? Essentially Neo was asking Smith. He didn't really ask him, but Smith just came out the door talking and telling him. But he would say, well, he figured out what it is about humans, the fundamental thing. He said the fundamental thing is choice. He said, that's it. You could choose to believe or not. Right now. You could turn your whole mind completely around and say, I reject all of that stuff. It is literally your choice. The thing is, if we say, hey, my parasympathetic nervous system, my unconscious mind, my automatic process says, no, this is a problem. This is a real thing. You can't make that choice. We're like, well, you're in a deficit. You're in the negative. You're in the red. It is up to you to create that energy to move beyond the red, to say, no, I reject it. Simply by rejecting it and sticking with your rejection and acceptance of it, you eliminate, you essentially extinguish what your unconscious mind has deemed of you to be: fear, anxiety, sadness, depression, all these different things. You're essentially making, your choice is not strong enough to counteract that unconscious mind, and you have to make it strong enough, right? It requires effort, and the effort really is in the choice. So remember that. We're all walking around and we can all have anxiety and be sad, right? We're sad about our lives, our condition, things in the past, traumas, right? Hey, where am I going? At any point in time, we just say, who cares, right? Any point in time, you could make a choice and say, no, I reject it. I reject the unconscious mind that this is a thing. And that will be final self-mastery, right? We could call it the final level boss. You could be, I finally mastered self. And think of that, mastering self. If you are a master, that means that there's a slave. And if you are facing these psychic, mental deficiencies, you are in essence a slave, a mental slave to your unconscious automatic systems. It says this is frightening, this is a fear, right? This is unpleasant. automatic thing. You're not thinking about that. Your body is moving through, and your unconscious is picking these things up as dangers, threats, whatever. But we have this ability, prefrontal cortex, our ego, however you want to describe it, to say that is what's given to us to move beyond the unconscious, the trauma, the past, the history, even the present, and how you feel. So think, maybe, so the point of again with Freud was saying that was the fundamental aspect. It's a duality of the conflict of nature to be a human being. And he says essentially you get it out by talking. It's an expression. Talking is an energy. Whatever really, Freud believed whatever really was spoken about manifests itself out into the universe. Essentially starts to make it an energy that can become true. Right? And so that's why talk therapy, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis was his bread and butter. He believed that could cure everything. Right? An opposing view. So we end off with this. We say, all right, well, okay, this sounds very great. Very philosophical. Professor Ross, right? Dr. Freud said this and that about energies, libido, manifestations of things, unconscious to the conscious mind. We could say plan B. Like, that sounds great. I don't know if I could get that deep. What's the plan B? Well, the plan B actually still kind of has parts of Freud. We'll say it's like the humanist point of view, right? You would say the humanist point of view is to say, I just need to be the greatest human being that I could potentially be, and that will solve the anxieties. That will solve the problems. That will solve the trauma. That will help me override or overcompensate for things in the past that I'm still holding on to, and things in the present that I can't seem to shake, right? And that, yes?
Couldn't that cause like anxiety in itself, trying to like make sure everything you do is perfect and it's the best it could be? Or like was trying to make up for like a wrong thing you did?
Yes, and that's why Freud rejected that, right? And we say the humanists more felt like, well, in part, we could say, well, Freud talked about drive. Drive to what, right? Nietzsche calls it the will to life, right? Same thing. And we say we have to create a purpose, right? And we say drive is with purpose. Drive towards what? Freud said drive towards counteracting drive towards my conflicting nature, right? Eliminating what my automatic unconscious mind is going to say that something is, and rejecting it to create balance. That's what Freud would say. Now, the humanists would say, well, drive is something different. If we set a goal and keep setting new goals, we have a new reason all the time. So essentially, right now, your drives are centered on finishing college. In essence, that's really your maybe major life force. Your energy and your attention, your awareness is directed towards finishing college. Now, your unconscious mind will probably say, this is a complete waste of time. This is a complete waste of money. There's no guarantee. This is the biggest gamble of my life in my youth when I have alternatives, right? But then your conscious mind says, you know what? Unconscious mind, you're talking about something very risky, just going out and doing a bunch of stuff and see if it sticks. Your conscious mind is saying, hey, you know what? We'll be a little bit more accountable and responsible. Mitigate the risk. I'll finish college. Seems like I'm hedging the bets. I'm just hedging my bets a little bit better, right? And so your drive is creating you to have some sort of harmony in your life right now. Some sort. It may not be perfect, but it could be a lot worse. This is where your attention is now, your focus, right? You have a purpose. You tell people I'm a student, I'm going to college, right? I'm going to finish my degree. This is your drive. And if you didn't have that, maybe, I don't know, maybe it would be a reckless life, right? It would be a life of uncertainty, but then you're like, well, you know what? Remember we said that id, it's a huge part of the unconscious mind. That it is natural desires and impulse. Eat, sleep, sex, eat the best food, have the most sex, right? Do things to hurt people and conquer people. That's what we do because it feels wonderful. Take the drugs. So we would say, well, even if you would say college is an anxiety. It's an angst. Because if I didn't, whatever, I'd just go live a life full of whatever, pleasure. I'd be a pleasure-seeking human being. Go to California, be a beach bum, 60-degree weather, and surf all day, and just hang out, do nothing. Because you'd be like, it doesn't matter who needs all the accolades, who needs all the degrees for self-esteem, self-value, self-worth. You may be like, hey, the id says none of that matters. Who cares about that? The id may say money is a human creation. That means nothing. Money? We just agreed upon currency? That's an illusion. The id may say money is an illusion. The ego say, no, money's a real thing. I need money to eat and live. I gotta pay for my rent. So you have this duality, this conflicting nature that Freud was really getting to. And if you keep that sort of framework in mind, besides all the therapies and besides all the methods and scientific practices, you have a clear understanding of exactly what's going on with everyone, right? You have a clear understanding exactly what everybody's going to do. You can see people's drives, their life force that they're creating for themselves, right? You can get it, right? You can see people's anxieties to say, oh, they're not making a conscious choice, right? They're in a deficit. You can see somebody who's like, oh, they let the id totally take over. They're just pleasure seekers, reckless life. Who cares? You're like, oh, that person does not have a lot of conscious awareness. The subconscious runs that person's life, right? It's one and all. So keeping those fundamental aspects lends us to have a really good philosophical idea about ourselves, something to think about for yourself, and others when we see and interact, right? In essence, we're seeing our own souls, our spirits. We say, not that complicated, and just like you, I'm a human being. Same stuff, just one of us making choices, the other one's just letting the subconscious get a hold. Not that complicated, right? Not that interesting, right? You see people kill people, do heinous things, right? Not that interesting. That requires no effort. That's just the id taking over. Like the id is an animal. The id is a pure beast. It's the lion going eat a deer. So it's not even, it's you expect it, right? It's to be expected. All right. I will end there. Before we go, I'd like to get a clap.